What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Flex podcast from the Action Network and Fantasy Labs. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. It's NFL Week 9. We got your player projections here. We'll give guys that we're high and low on, throw out some props, and, of course, give our top 5 at each skill position. I'll be joined momentarily by one of the most accurate fantasy rankers in the game, Sean Koerner. But a quick reminder, all of our fantasy football content available right now over at fantasylabs.com. Fantasy Labs NFL includes in-season rankings, waiver wire tips, and more. We've also got a survivor pool tool for you. Make sure to use code FLEX20 for $20 off at fantasylabs.com/flex. All right, Koerner, how's it going? Who you got for our Week 8 Cardio Kings?
Yeah, so this week's Cardio King was Quentin Johnson with 27 wow. routes run, no targets. Just when we thought he was a reliable, safe wide receiver 2, he pulls this on us. I guess, we should have seen this coming with Rondé Gatson, just being a beast. One of these 3 Charger receivers is probably going to be the odd man out. Next week it could be Ladd or Keenan, but probably this week Keenan. It was Quentin Johnson. Yeah. Probably not Keenan.
Probably
he's
Keenan.
Always gonna.
He was getting he's seen his snap counts decreased, I noticed. In favor of Trey Harris these last few weeks. So it didn't really show up too much. I mean, right. he didn't get in the end zone, but yeah, I could see Keenan having a dip because Quentin's out there most of the snaps. That's the difference.
I don't think I would. Yeah, Keenan probably couldn't be Cardio King. He's always going to see one target, but certainly his value's taken a hit just with Gadsden. Just commanding way more targets than like a Will Disley or Tyler Conklin would normally. But speaking of tight ends, the Cardio King at tight end, he only ran 11 routes and got 0 targets. So it was a very good week for tight end. Not really many K. Dottons out there. But it was Darnell Washington. Yeah, that's true. I think of that. Yeah, National Tight End Day. So, of course, the tight end on a team with 3 to 4 tight ends rotating in and out. Darnell Washington had 11 routes, 0 targets. Not too surprising there. He is much more of a blocker. But yeah, he was the Cardio King at tight end this week.
Yeah, do you think that's going to be a season low for tight end 11? Or
I thought we had. Lower? Well, I thought we had a couple weeks ago. The Cardio King was like 10 or 11. Remember, I misplaced it on somebody. It turned out to be Noah Gray.
Noah Gray? Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. Didn't Noah Gray have like 20-something, I think? Or no.
Maybe. No, I think it was still in the teens.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe National Tight Ends Day had something to do with it. I bet this week we get somebody 20-plus that doesn't get like a Tanner Connor or somebody like that.
always in play.
He could be the favorite, or Dulcich if he's even out there. But yeah, I bet we get a 20-plus this week.
All right, let's jump into quarterback top 5 for week 9. Who you got, Koerner?
I got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and Dak Prescott.
I got Mahomes, Jackson, assuming he suits up, Allen, Drake May, and Dak Prescott. Yeah. Jaden Daniels is he still? He's gonna miss time, right? I mean, he wouldn't be in my top 5, but it's just interesting to see him. I
have him. Yeah, I have him playing right now, but who knows at this point? They're against Seattle. Mariota's been playing well enough. They want him to get healthy, so I think they're going to be cautious with him and make sure he's 100%. So, maybe less than 50-50, but it's too soon to tell.
All right, who are you high on at quarterback?
I'm high on Jordan Love, who's my QB7 to open the week, but he's just playing at a high level right now. I know you were high on him heading into the season, and a lot of the things that you pointed out have sort of been coming true, that the Packers are much more pass-heavy this season. And, with Jordan Love playing well, they leaned on it even more last week against the Steelers. They had the 5th highest pass rate over expected last week. We could see that continue as these receivers come back. We could see them just lean on Love even more because, Christian Watson returned last week. He looked great. I thought he was going to be way more limited than he was, but he had more of a full-time role, had an excellent game. He's going to help open the passing game up even more. And then, we could see Jaden Reed return, in the next few weeks. Who knows? But this passing attack in general is on the upswing. And we've seen Jordan Love lean on his rushing upside a lot more lately. Last week, he just, had the kneel down. But before that, he had 3 straight games of 20 plus rushing yards. So love what I'm seeing with him. He's definitely more of a mid-range QB1 going forward for me. So this week, I have him as my QB7.
Yeah, I think Carolina's kind of they've turned into a pass funnel now. They used to be a run funnel, but they're playing a lot. I mean, well, until James Cook. So man, I got to look at the numbers now. They're probably a little more balanced, but still,
they're an everything funnel.
Right. No, I mean the Bills. The Bills can run on people if they, especially coming out of the bye. That's not too crazy. And Cook is, he's the explosive merchant. But yeah, in this spot, I do think Love has some good upside getting his guys healthier at receiver. And it seems like, I don't know, is Jacobs fully healthy? It seems like he keeps getting less and less of a workload. So maybe they're going to lean on the pass even more.
Yeah, he's definitely dealing with something. They're getting Manuel Wilson involved a ton. But Jacobs is healthy enough to get those short yard touchdowns. So that's always a threat, is he's going to kind of steal some of the touchdown upside with Love. But yeah, they've just been leaning on Love, dropping back a lot more, probably because Jacobs isn't 100% right now.
Yeah, and I mean he looks good out there. They're just, it's like if you have a fourth quarter league or something like that. Like, I mean, the Packers every week, it's like 3 quarters they look not horrible, but it's like, okay, they're down by like a score or 2, and the fourth quarter just eruption. So it happened again.
Yeah.
I got burned with that betting on the Steelers. So, but yeah, love this week. Another guy. I actually misspoke. I just tweaked some things and resorted, and Caleb Williams is actually my QB5, not Dak Prescott. So nice. I'm gonna have to talk about Caleb Williams, I guess. Now I know he's been disappointing, but Cincinnati, Justin Fields, literally supposed to be benched. Not only are they giving up touchdowns to him, they're giving up game winners to Breece Hall, the running back who's supposed to be traded. He's throwing touchdowns on him. So I think Caleb Williams will be all right here in this spot against Cincinnati. I know they have the players only meeting, but at the end of the day, I think the Bears defense is vulnerable. So that is a positive for Williams. And, just you could really get into some shootouts with Joe Flacco, because it's like 40 pass attempts and it's like 20 incompletions. So the clock's going to be stopping a lot.
True.
It should be a lot of drives. I think the total's up to over 52 and a half, if I'm not mistaken, which is just a absurdly high total for an outdoor game. I mean, is that going to be a luck under or something? It sounds a little fishy, but at the same time, these defenses have been not great. So like Caleb this week, I think he's, I know the narrative surrounding him is kind of negative, or it is negative at this point, but you got to play these guys against these bad defenses. We saw that with Fields last week. Who are you low on at quarterback, Koerner?
I'm low on Bo Nix here against the Texans. And, he's coming off back-to-back 4 touchdown games, so this is pretty aggressive to highlight him here. But this is a tougher matchup. The Texans are allowing the fewest points per game to quarterbacks, 3.5 fewer points than the next team, which is how good they've been. Which they were good on paper heading in the season, so this isn't like too crazy. And the total's right around 40 right now, where the Broncos' implied team total is 19, which is the 4th lowest of the week. So, sure, Bo could end up scoring 3 touchdowns, passing and rushing combined. But from a projection standpoint, this is a massive blow in my model. So he's all the way down to QB 18. If you've been sticking with him and, the only available quarterbacks like Sam Darnold, you're sticking with Bo Nix this week. You just have to kind of temper expectations here, and then he'll bounce back in a more normal matchup, going forward. But yeah, to open the week, he's all the way down to QB 18 for me.
Yeah, no, understood. Last week was he's QB 18 for me as well. Last week I think was the week to play him against Dallas. So, like he's one of those guys that he can just have a disgusting game and like a Trevor Lawrence almost. Like there's few spots you could trust him, but not many. I guess he's probably a little more trustable than Trevor at this point, but still, I have Trevor a couple spots higher this week. So take that for what you will. For me, one guy I just wanted to talk about because I'm a little lower on him this week. I was high on him last week, but the game script could become a factor here. Justin Herbert, he's a ECR QB4. I have him around QB7, so not a massive blow, but against the Titans, I just expect the Chargers to be a little run heavier. Vidal looked good out there against Minnesota. They have a long break. So I think this is a spot where I'd be a little careful with Herbert just because, volume is going to kind of be his calling card where he's really going to erupt. You never know. Sometimes he runs, sometimes he doesn't. So he's been a little inconsistent in that sense, but I think I would rather have like a Dak Prescott or Kyler if he goes against the on the other side of that, or even a Jackson Dart type than Herbert this week, just because I think, the touchdown projection is still high, but yardage wise could be a little more muted going up against the Titans, who everyone just runs on all day.
Yeah, and he had the Thursday night game, but he's been treating it like a full bye week. He was at Halloween party with the girlfriend, the Dodger game, the Laker game. So he's living it up right now. Maybe he has a hangover this week.
Yeah, I can see that. I think they had a pretty just like ho-hum game against the Titans last year too. Like they won, but it wasn't like a massive game if I'm not mistaken for their offense. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, what a lower on him. Who we got for the prop at quarterback?
Yeah, so it's funny you're high on Caleb Williams because he was part of the prop I have. So you tipped it off a bit, but I think it sounds like we're pretty close because the prop is who's going to have more fantasy points this week, Caleb Williams or Drake May, and it's just a straight up pick 'em, no spread or anything.
Ooh, I got them 4-5, but I do have Drake May about still a half a point higher. Like Drake May is kind of a little bit more firmly. Drake May is closing in on Josh Allen, actually.
Oh yeah,
so yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go with May. I think the rushing upside is a little greater. He's been extremely, I think, more accurate than anyone could have hoped. This year, I think he had that. What do you have, like a 21 for 23 game a couple games ago? So yeah, I gotta go with May. The Falcons defense proved that it's not as good as we thought it would. Just a complete disaster at home. I think our DK lineup still cashed. I think we had the Falcons defense against Miami, but they just got eviscerated by Tua Tagovailoa. Now we can't even count on them to control the ball in the run game. So yeah, I gotta go Drake May here. Have him pretty firmly ahead of Caleb.
I blame Kirk Cousins for that. They just couldn't get a first down, so the defense just was always on the field. What else are they supposed to do? But yeah, Drake May and Caleb, they were the two QB2s I thought had league winning upside. I ended up with more Caleb Williams, but yeah, right now it looks like Drake May's the next Josh Allen, and yeah, he has the rushing upside. I just think if they were to trade for a receiver at the deadline, then he could be a top 3 quarterback the rest of the way. He definitely needs like one more target to take him over that edge, but the talent's there and the rushing upside's there to be, top 3 quarterback, for years to come.
Yeah. Wasn't there that guy out there in Chicago who won that draft that we had Drake May as his quarterback? Right? Yeah.
In the last round, right?
Yeah.
That was like the clincher for me. And then I was like, in our video after, I was like, Rome Odunze went undrafted. What the hell?
Yeah.
That was insane. But I think the winning team had Drake May in the last round. I thought that was like the perfect approach.
Yeah, he could be a top 5. I mean, it would be interesting to see how far he can carry them, because I wonder if they become kind of the new Bengals almost. That next team after the Chiefs and the Ravens. Well, the Ravens, who knows if they even get in, but in the Bills to kind of be challenging for that AFC title, because you got the coach, you got the quarterback. So imagine the rest of the team will kind of come along.
Imagine if they add Chris Olave at the trade deadline. Like, imagine that.
Yeah.
That'd be fun to see.
They haven't fully unleashed him. I don't think he's had a route run rate above 80% this year yet.
Yeah.
So
like 75%. So yeah, he's only going to get healthier and better. Booty's been great, but again, just adding a guy like Olave to the mix, or like a Jalen Waddle if he's available, would only elevate him even more.
Yeah, some more explosiveness, or just another short-handed receiver. Yeah, that would be. I mean, it's already way ahead of schedule. So yeah, Drake May is a guy.
Yep.
Gotta trust him week in, week out. All right, let's go to running back. Koerner, top 5 for week 9. We got
I got Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Kyron Williams, and Jahmyr Gibbs.
I got Taylor, McCaffrey, Gibbs, Achan, and Bijan. Bijan looking a little shakier after. I'm surprised how bad of a game he had. Any thoughts on him real quick before we jump in? Just because, we always talk about the Algier, and it's like usually, okay, Algier is irrelevant. Bijan's going to get his, and then it's Algier. But I think Algier got a touchdown again. So any thoughts on Bijan? Like, is he trending down for you at all, or how are you handling him?
Again, week? I fully blame Kirk Cousins. I said that, heading into this year, like, Kirk Cousins, like, he was so immobile last year. There was a couple of stretch runs where he couldn't get the ball to Bijan. Like, he couldn't give him the ball. Like, so I blame Kirk Cousins. So hopefully Michael Penix is back this week, and then Bijan can get back on track. But yeah, it is great. Tyler Algier out-produced Bijan last week. Another reason why he shouldn't be available in 58% of leagues right now. But yeah, no, I think Bijan's going to get back on track. But that was one of the biggest, cash game busts on, a running back that didn't even, get hurt in game that I can recall.
McCaffrey, too. McCaffrey didn't do jack squat, right? He got, 3 catches and, nothing on the ground almost. So, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
If you didn't have Taylor, if you didn't pay up for Taylor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Taylor. Taylor was a cheat code last week. McCaffrey still had 70 scrimmage yards, so not quite as bad. And, the Texans defense, that's not like a, complete smash spot. But, yeah, Bijan, that was very disappointing. But, again, I'm putting all the blame and fault on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, Bijan got outproduced by Tank Bigsby, Samaje Perine.
Joe Flacco on the ground, outproduced.
Yo, you're right. Yeah, a 13-yard scramble and then another, and then the sneak for the touchdown. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, just wow. All right, who are you high on at running back?
I'm high on Kamani Vidal, who, again, you made a great point with Justin Herbert being a little bit lower on him. I think that's true this week, where Vidal has looked great. And last week, he had 23 carries, 117 yards, and a touchdown. So this is a matchup against the Titans. They could absolutely just lean on him and salt the game away. And, Hassan Haskins was out last week, so I think that kind of led to Vidal being, a true workhorse back. But even if Haskins returns this week, I think they're just going to lean on him because, Omarion Hampton could return, over the next few weeks. So they're not really saving Vidal for anything. So I just think they're going to treat him as a true workhorse back going forward until Hampton returns. So this is just the perfect spot for him. He's my RB7 to open the week. Where do you have him ranked right now?
Ooh, I thought I was high on him. I have him RB12, so a little low, but
okay.
That's around where I was last week too. Heading into the week, just because of Haskins being out. But I think it doesn't matter at this point because Jarrett Patterson actually got 11 carries. That's more than you can ever expect Haskins to get.
True.
Damian Tomlinson out there.
It was sort of a blowout game script, but it should be again this week. It is a revenge game for Hassan Haskins, right? So they might give him a vulture touchdown. Be wary of that. It is a revenge game, so if he is playing, that could happen. But I think either way, Vidal's the clear workhorse back right now. And then the other back I'm high on, at least to start the week, is Kareem Hunt. Assuming Pacheco does miss this week, it sounds like he's week to week based on that knee injury he sustained, late into Monday Night Football. So it's unclear how severe it is or if he, would have been able to return. But Kareem Hunt would be a, low end, maybe mid-range RB2 this week against the Bills. Kareem Hunt already has massive touchdown upside. He scored 2 touchdowns last week. But if Pacheco's out, I could see them leaning on Hunt quite a bit here because the Bills are sort of a run funnel defense. And the Chiefs are the rare team that actually could, have a leading game script against the Bills as well, where, Hunt's, they're leaning on Hunt for all 4 quarters. Usually teams, they lean on the run early against the Bills, and then once they're down by a score or 2, then they get pass heavy. So This is a spot where, Hunt could get, a ton of work all game. Really good spot for him with, Brashard Smith, obviously, more involved in the passing game. But I like Hunt here as like a mid-range RB2 if Pacheco is ruled out.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And Pacheco he just got his touchdown, I think like a couple weeks ago. Like he was finally putting it together, and then woo, there we go. But that's
and he looks good. It'd be a shame that if this knee injury, I don't know what it is, but if again he has another setback where he comes back and he kind of lost that explosiveness. But before this, he was starting to look like his old self.
Yeah, I mean, that's why he was kind of a don't touch for me, just because it's crazy enough. He came into the year, he already had 6 like serious injuries in the NFL. Like you don't even realize that. Like he had like injuries to every single body part, and so it's just like he looks great every time he's running, but he's just so reckless that I worry about him long term. But hopefully this is the Brashard Smith breakout too. But yeah, Hunt is clearly like he's still what he was last year to them. Around the goal line and everywhere else. So if Pacheco's out, that was the Hunt that was getting like 23, 25 carries in some spots.
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty massive upside, I would say, for Kareem Hunt. So yeah, I like that call a lot. Tyrone Tracy for me, he's a guy I think he should probably be an RB1 or close to it, going up against the Niners. The defensive front for them, no Fred Warner, no Bosa. It's just not a great front. We saw, Woody Marks get loose a couple times in that last game for Houston, and Tracy is going to get as much of the backfield as he can handle, most likely. It looks like they were kind of minimizing Singletary. Now, Tracy, he is a little bit like Ramondre Stevenson-ish, that, if he fumbles or something, I could see them maybe benching him. But that's a bridge you have to kind of cross when you get to it. And Tracy, they started giving him more work in the run game, which I didn't expect, starting a couple weeks ago, even with Scatterboo healthy. So I think that's a good sign, because Tracy, great in the passing game, as you alluded to in the waiver pod. So I think he's in a good spot this week. Who are you low on at running back?
Yeah, I'm low on Alvin Kamara. I have him more as a low end RB2, which is a shame because last week I thought, he's going to be a true workhorse back the rest of the way. That wasn't the case last week. And, to make matters worse, the Saints just went with a ultra, air raid passing attack last week. They had the highest pass rate over expected last week, which, does make...
Still couldn't score!
Well, yeah, I mean, again, that's taking the blowout out of it. Like, they were pass heavy from the get-go, which, again, it makes sense against Tampa Bay. They're more of a pass funnel defense. But Kamara wasn't even involved in the passing game. This is, the second game in a row he had lower than a 15% target rate, which is insane to me, especially against the Buccaneers. Like, the best way to kind of move the ball as an extension of the run game is, checking it down to your back. But they weren't even doing that. So he was banged up in the game, but I don't know if they're just trying to preserve him for the trade deadline. But it just makes it really risky to lean on this week against the Rams. So I would just be cautious with him for now. I think Tyler Shuck, who's getting the start this week, will be more likely to check down to the running back than Spencer Rattler. So that could help salvage Kamara's value a bit. But again, this is a very tricky situation right now. And another situation, I'm low on Jordan Mason this week against the Lions. He's all the way down to RB33 for me. His stock was always going to take a hit once Aaron Jones returned, which was last week. But Aaron Jones started the game and he outtouched Mason, which is a huge red flag. Granted, it was, trailing game script. So those are the situations where I'd expect Mason to kind of take a back seat. But they're at Detroit this week, so I'm fully expecting Minnesota to be in a trailing game script, and Jordan Mason just isn't involved at all in the passing game. So these are the spots he's already a fade, but now with Aaron Jones back and seeing a pretty big role, he's probably a sit for me this week. So yeah, he's RB33 to open the week for me.
Yeah, Detroit. So I'm actually willing to give Kamara more of a chance, like you said, with the checkdowns, because Tampa Bay is a blitz-heavy team, so sometimes maybe Neal's in more to just pick up blitzes. But this week, I think the Lions, they probably blitz a little bit too, and they play a lot of man coverage. So the running backs don't usually do anything in the pass game versus them either. So Mason, yeah, if he's not getting carries on the ground, like enough, which I don't think I have him down at RB, outside the top 30 as well. I think it's really going to be tough for him to produce. And, we just don't know. We don't know what the carry split is going to be like, but we know Jones is going to get more work through the air. That's probably going to be the case every week. All right. I am low on Rico Dowdle. So he's still a top 20 back in ECR. And, unfortunately for him, I guess, this looks like it's going to return to a true committee. And Chuba Hubbard kind of has a slight lead. He had a slight lead in the pass game, over the last couple of weeks. But last week, the carries split was in favor of Hubbard as well. And, maybe that flips back around. But overall, I think we can't really expect much more than a 50-50 split for Dowdle at this point. And, Carolina on the road in Green Bay game, they're expected to trail a good bit. You might not get as much on the ground as where Dowdle's really been kind of doing his work as we, would expect. So just not high on him at all. He's my RB 33. Yeah, he's my RB 33. So he's in that Mason territory where it's just like, 50-50 committee probably at best at this point. So low on him. All right, running back prop. Let's go Jahmyr Gibbs versus David Montgomery. Rushing yards. Since you're famous for this. I'm going to make Gibbs a 29.5 yard favorite.
Ooh. I'll take Monty there.
Okay.
Even in my pick note where I lost that bet, I said Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 2 back in the league. I'll take Monty here. I think the Lions win here pretty easily, which will let them kind of get Monty more involved this week. But yeah, obviously Gibbs is bound to go, 100 plus yards any given week, including this one. But I think giving Monty that many yards is maybe a little too much.
I have Gibbs. Wait, my raw dog projection for Gibbs is ridiculous. Wait, let's see. Hold on.
It should be.
Let's see. Yeah, that's a little better. I have him 41 yards above Monty. So I actually gave you a little bit. But I figured you were going to probably go with. I'm glad you went with the Monty side because I do have Gibbs here. I have him 84-43 right now.
84-43. Yeah. I mean, that I would be the least surprised person on earth if that were to happen. Now, if you included receiving yards, it wouldn't even be close. But if any, I don't think Minnesota keeps this close. So again, give them a chance to give, the best running back in the league a breather in Jahmyr Gibbs. Would be my angle for Monty potentially staying within 30 here.
They do have their other backups are like Vaki and Reynolds. I think are both questionable, and
they always are questionable. But
I've been kind of factoring out that game against Cincinnati, like that you pointed out, where it was just like that special kind of day for Monty, where he had he had the lead over Gibbs. So like when you factor that out, I guess my carry share is probably a little higher in favor of Gibbs. But yeah, it could still go either way. But I think it's interesting. Minnesota just got like ran over by Vidal too.
That's a great point. I'm doing the same thing. That 54% rushing share for the team.
Yeah.
That was, again, that's why I bet on Monty that game. See, I don't lose every bet on Lions running backs. But yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Just they've been leaning on Gibbs a ton this year. We kind of suspected that. With Gibbs is entering his prime, Monty is past his prime. It makes a ton of sense. But in the spot, if they do blow them out, could have been on the back of a Jahmyr Gibbs long touchdown run. I think this is the spot. They probably want to get Monty a little bit more involved on the ground if they are able to get off to an early lead.
All right, wide receiver, top 5, week 9. Koerner, who you got?
I got Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Rashee Rice.
I got Chase, JSN, Amon-Ra, Puka, assuming he's back, and CeeDee Lamb. So,
Nice.
yeah, Justin Jefferson's out of both of ours, right?
Yeah, I have him wide receiver 9.
I'm 6, so it's trending down. I always hesitate to knock him down too much. He's still Justin Jefferson, but hasn't been as consistent.
Who did you
this
have
year.
out? Do you have Rashee Rice like number 7 then? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I always the Chiefs receivers I always worry a little bit. He's been great. But like you could always see like a random, 0 or 1 target game out of the Chiefs receivers because they just got so many now. Like I think Hollywood Brown, you were low on him. I mean, I don't think so, but he's not going to get. Is he going to get 2 to 3 carries every game too? I got
probably not. Yeah, probably not 2 to 3 carries, but I mean, what was it? His prop for routes run rate was like you said at 69.
No, I think it was more than that. I think I said it like 62 or something. What did it end up being?
I think he had like a career high for regular season. I think it was in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
83%.
Yeah, so that's right back up where he was at the end of 2023. I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good news, but still, a little bit harder for me to trust. But maybe I'll flip flop him and Jefferson, see how McCarthy's sounding. The reason I like Jefferson is just that, like you said, that could be a trailing game script for Minnesota. Where I guess it could be for the Chiefs too. Now that I think about it. So yeah, that's a tough one. We'll have to see about that. Maybe that'll be the prop. But who are you high on at wide receiver?
I'm high on Troy Franklin. Just to start it off, he's my wide receiver 35. I seem to give him out every week on our waiver pod, and this week was no different. Especially coming after that 6-catch, 89-yard, 2-touchdown game. Of course, that was against the Cowboys. You always kind of have to factor that in anytime a receiver has a big game. But still, he's been pretty solid behind Courtland Sutton. This is a tricky team to kind of count on anybody in the passing game outside of Sutton. But Franklin's really established himself as being, more of a reliable wide receiver 2. Plus, he has the long history with Bo Nix. But I think with Marvin Mims Jr. In the concussion protocol, I have him projected out. Because of that. So that just kind of raises my floor and ceiling projection for Franklin. Despite, this being a tough matchup against the Texans, he's still my wide receiver 35. And then Travis Hunter, I'm high on. He definitely had, a disappointing first half of the season, just given he was the number 2 overall pick. But the 2 games leading into the bye, it was very encouraging seeing his underlying usage, his routes run rate is consistently around 85% right now. And then he had that massive game heading into the bye, 8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. I think Liam Cohn's going to use this bye to continue to figure out ways to kind of get Travis Hunter more involved and get the ball in his hands. And, Brian Thomas Jr. is banged up right now. He's part of trade rumors. So I just think the second half is going to be huge for Travis Hunter. And he gets his first game against the Raiders. So I have him as, sort of a low-end wide receiver 2. Heading into this week.
Yeah, like you would think this would be the spot. Especially, I was surprised to hear. I mean, I guess it's other teams calling on Thomas, but yeah, I have Thomas, outside the top 20 this week to start the week, and Hunter inside the top 30. So yeah, it's starting to close the gap. For me, it's Shimray DK. I think he's still the ECR wide receiver 47. I think he's kind of a low end wide receiver 3/flex option. In this Titans offense, new coaching staff, more high percentage throws, more routes for DK with Lockett gone. And expect him to kind of continue to be that top target. Mentioned he's kind of a little bit reminds me of the Amon-Ra breakout as a rookie a couple years ago where, mid-round pick, kind of bad offense, bad team, but, started to pick it up mid-season. So I think DK could kind of do something similar. It's clear they're trying to get him the ball, even on that interception to effectively end the game. I think he was the target. So he could have had a touchdown as well, but putting up decent yardage, a lot of volume these last couple of weeks. I think that continues. And one other guy I mentioned, Marvin Harrison. I have him I have him as my wide receiver 12 this week. So against the Cowboys, kind of like you mentioned, this is the team that you want to target. I think Harrison, he's been up and down, but clear top 2 target on the Cardinals. And, running back, you don't expect, we'll see what happens with DeMarcado now. And does Carter get called back up? But, we don't expect the running backs to take too much of the pass game usage. And then you still have a lot of room after McBride because Zay Jones doesn't command a high target share. Wilson doesn't command a high target share. So I like Harrison this week in what could be a shootout on that's the Monday night game, right? Yeah, shootout on Monday night for the Cowboys and the Cardinals. So like Harrison, like DK. Who are you low on, Koerner?
I'm low on T. Higgins. He's a guy that I thought, we might see a higher floor going forward. Joe Flacco throwing it 50 times a game. But it's really just helped out Jamar Chase even more.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase is just insane right now, how many targets he's getting. And, T was able to bail his managers out last week with, the 44-yard touchdown, but that was it. So anytime you're relying on one play to support, wide receiver 2, he's just going to be too inconsistent. So I have T as more of a low-end wide receiver 3 this week. I do think he is going to get sort of the squeaky wheel treatment at some point. Jamar Chase can't keep this up. So, going forward, I still like him. But again, I just can't be ranking him inside my top 20 anymore until we see things change. So I'm all the way down to wide receiver 32. I think he's, more of a low-end wide receiver 3 with a ton of upside, obviously. And then I know you're high on DK of the Titans. I'm low on DK Metcalf of the Steelers because his ECR is wide receiver 11 to open the week. I just can't get there. He's closer to my wide receiver 22 to open the week. He's still, the top target in this offense, but Rodgers is really spreading it around a ton. Again, they have 3 or 4 tight ends out there. Calvin Austin, the third, his return sort of ate into DK's target share. You have Roman Wilson making big plays now, out of the blue. And he checks down to Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell. So he's just spreading around way too much to be projecting DK for anything north of, 4 catches. So, once again, DK's sort of, low volume guy with a ton of upside when he does catch the ball, but he's just not seeing 10 plus targets in any game this year. So just more of a low end wide receiver 2. This is a game that it could be a shootout against the Colts. It's a very high total. They're going to have to throw. So he's still, a solid wide receiver 2 option, but long term, I'm kind of concerned just given how much they're, spreading around, and they're a team that could trade for somebody before the deadline. So, DK's long-term value could take a hit if they do bring in, an Olave or Waddle type receiver to add to the mix. So I'm low on DK this week and sort of going forward.
I'm on the wide receiver on the other side of that game, Michael Pittman Jr., and that's kind of the same thing. Like, he's been great. I think he only has had like one or two true dud type of games, but it's kind of a similar thing. It's, the Colts, they have a lot of options now with Josh Downs healthy, Tyler Warren breaking out. Alec Pierce is still, if he catches a deep ball, that's still a bunch of yards that a guy like Pittman can't get. So, Pittman's route rates tend to be down under 90% a lot of these times, which is not great for a wide receiver 1. And, Taylor is also starting to make some noise in the pass game more than he has in the past most years. So it's just, the Colts really have, 5 solid, like every single target, every eligible receiver on most plays for Daniel Jones is in play. And that's just not ideal to rely on a guy who is ECR wide receiver 11, I think. So yeah, he's right there with DK. I have him as more of wide receiver, low end wide receiver 2 at wide receiver 21, and just like a tiny little tweak, he could drop to number 24. Warren has a big game. Josh Downs, we don't know how much he'll continue to emerge. He's kind of been held in check in terms of the routes as well, but he could always kind of tick up as he gets healthier. So yeah, Pittman, like him, but in this type of spot, I think, yes, just a lot of options. Won't be as consistent potentially as he has been up to this point. All right, wide receiver prop, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going with Marvin Harrison Jr. receiving yards. So it was nice, having you talk him up, help me set the line here. But I think that this is obviously a great matchup. Actually, I'll shut up. I'll let you bet on it first, and then I'll give my take on it. But I'm gonna set his prop at 59.5 receiving yards.
Ooh, that's good. That's right around where I have it median wise. Let's see. I'm gonna go over. Cowboys, they've given up is it the most, second most receiving yardage in the league to opposing wide receivers. And I mean, the Cardinals, I think he dominates their wide receiver room. I know Zay Jones has been a little more active lately, but yeah, I think this has got to be a Harrison game, kind of coming off the bye. He's always been a talk, but I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah. I think if Jacoby Brissett were under center, I'd set this at like 75.5.
Oh man.
Diggs is on IR. Both safeties missed last week, right? And they're questionable. Even the backup free safety is questionable. So yeah, if he can't get going with Kyler Murray here, I don't know when they can. But I think Jacoby, if he ever gets a spot start, I'm going to bump up Marvin Harrison. I already was, and Trey McBride's touchdown. Projection. 3 touchdowns in 2 games with Jacoby, and the most touchdowns Trey has ever had in a season is 3. So again, we're kind of seeing these things that I had theories on with Kyler, but I still think this is a great spot for Marvin Harrison. So yeah, his prop being at 60 is pretty high, all things considered. But this is the spot to play him. And again, if he can't get going with Kyler here, it's never going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scramble rate for Kyler takes away some of the production for the receivers over a guy like Brissett at this point. So yeah, but also Kyler's just not that great. He's just very, very mediocre and probably isn't seeing things great down the field. Which is why getting he could target Trey, and then when he get in the red zone, it's everything kind of crowds the vision. Same thing down the field with Marvin. So I definitely see your theory. Would hope it's Brissett too, but even if it's Kyler, I gotta trust the model in this one with the Cowboys just being just horrendous on defense against everybody
and hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
bad
part of
and
the reason
hurt.
why. All right, tight end top 5 Koerner for week 9. You like
Trey McBride, Tucker Kraft, Aronde Gadsden the second, Jake Ferguson, and Tyler Warren. Wow, what a top 5!
Right, yeah. I have McBride, Kraft, Warren, Kittle, and Gadsden. So
nice.
Bowers is kind of, him and Ferguson are kind of right there. Ferguson, finally had a floor game, and Bowers, I just don't know what to think of him in this Raider offense.
Yeah.
I know they're coming off a bye, but we don't even know if Myers is going to be there, which could make a little bit of a difference with the target share. So yeah, got a little hesitant on him. But who are you high on?
Aronde Gadsden, baby, tight end 3 against the Titans. Not sure what else I have left to say about this guy. I've been high on him for a few weeks now, but he's every year we have that one guy where they just look as good as the box score is indicating it. Remember, it was James Conner a few years ago, where he was just a monster. We're like, he is as good as the box score is indicating. Evan Ingram, year on the Jaguars. Aronde Gadsden right now, the production is matching the usage and just how he looks out there. So yeah, he's a top 3 tight end for me. Now, he is due for a dud. Every single tight end, maybe outside of Trey McBride, is going to be due for a dud here and there. So we could see a 1 catch, 14-yard game from him, but that's every tight end. So if and when that happens, I wouldn't panic too much. I think that the rest of the season, he's probably going to be a top 5 tight end. And this is with all 3 wide receivers fully healthy right now. So if, either Keenan, Ladd, or Quentin missed time, he probably has an even extra gear. Like Brock Bowers last year, when Myers was out, they traded Devontae. He has that gear in him. But also, kind of want to get your thoughts. Just the 3 wide receivers, every week, one of them will be the odd man out probably, like Quentin Johnson last week was our cardio king. But the fact that Gadsden's the lead tight end, they're not – Will Disley was inactive. Tyler Conklin played 3 snaps. Tucker Fisk is, just a blocking guy. Gadsden's really not competing with anybody. He has his own unique role. where, if the hot route is the tight end, that's him. If the red zone reads the tight end, that's him. He is competing with the wide receivers, but not in the same extent they're competing with each other, right? So he just kind of has like this consistent high upside role within this offense, even with everybody healthy.
I think so. I mean, I think the guy like Keenan Allen would be the guy I'm the most worried about. 50% route rate last week. He's the slot guy. So Gadsden's already kind of taking some of those targets that would normally, maybe go to Allen because, Herbert's so familiar with him. And then, Gadsden's playing time has only separated from the other tight ends. So I think, the writing's kind of on the wall where it would probably be most likely to be one of the three receivers, and that receiver would probably be Allen, just because it's the most overlap. I think like Quentin Johnson. I mean, you're gonna see that from like these ex receivers. Period. Like, I mean, we see it from Jamison Williams, T. Higgins, right? Like they're just gonna have these quiet games every once in a while, even if they've been producing consistently otherwise. So I think Gadsden should be fine. And he's also just hard to dedicate coverage to because it's like you still do have, McConkey on the inside, outside. You still have Johnson who's playing well on the outside. So I think Gadsden should be fairly consistent going forward. I mean, he's out there just to run routes too. He's not really going to block very much. So I am high on Theo Johnson this week. He's a top 12 tight end for me, and it just comes down to the routes. He's running a route pretty much every snap now for the Giants. Scatterboo's injury, they could just look for Theo more. They're starting to play more heavy personnel with Jackson. That started the game after Neighbors went down to begin with, and we've seen the tight end usage tick up, which has put Johnson from, about an 80% player to essentially an every snap 100% player. And some weeks it won't be great, against Philly. They're a team that's going to play more man coverage than most. So not the greatest spot for tight ends, but the 49ers tend to be zone heavy, and they're without Fred Warner, who's kind of their tight end stopper. Always used to hesitate to play tight ends against the Niners for that reason. So I think this is a good matchup for Theo. Who are you low on at tight end?
Yeah, I'm low on Brock Bowers. He's my tight end 9 to open the week against the Jaguars, and it's crazy seeing Kelsey, Laporta, Kittle, Bowers are all healthy, and none of them are in my top 5. I think anybody that took Bowers, tight end 1 overall is probably regretting it right now. Not just because of the injury, and he's been missing time, but just the fact that so many guys have emerged that you were able to scoop up off the waiver wire. That's kind of how it goes every year. And like Tyler Warren being available later in the draft, another reason why probably have buyer's remorse. But Bowers is still one of the best tight ends in the league. So I like him long term, but right now with Geno Smith and this passing game being just completely broken, you had mentioned it, just the body language is a huge tell there that Geno Smith just doesn't have it. So maybe the bye week they can figure out some things. But Bowers, he could be competing with Michael Mayer this week for snaps. There's just a ton of uncertainty, how he's going to look when he gets back. So I have him as my tight end 9 this week against the Jaguars.
Yeah, nice GPP play though, because sometimes we see these guys come off injury when they've been held out, a long time. It's just so they get healthy. But I feel like, are we on Geno bench alert too? Like, is this a under? Like, just smash the unders on all the Genos?
You know what?
I mean, they can trade his number 1 receiver. Who they have Pickett's behind him, I think, right? Yeah. Like this.
Yeah, I could see that, and that's 2 weeks in a row now where I got bailed out. Where I took Justin Fields 2 weeks ago, and he got benched. Last week I got bailed out by Rattler getting benched. I took the under on his passing attempts. And
that would
they open it up with just the full air raid offense. He's throwing pick sixes and all these things, and I'm like, oh my god, I need him to get benched now. And sure enough, he did. But that one I got lucky. But yeah, Geno Smith this week would be a guy that they're going to either stay in the game and be run heavy with Genty having a nice game where they can kind of limit Geno, or they get down by 2+ scores. It's probably because Geno Smith is playing like shit. And, coming off the bye week, it's like we're going to give up on him for the rest of the game. And yeah, we're going to see what Kenny Pickett can do. And, Aiden O'Connell, my guy,
Yeah.
he could return at some point, right? He's come back from that wrist injury. So, we could see him later in the season. But yeah, I think if Geno starts off slow again, or, he's throwing interceptions, taking sacks, could definitely get benched in game this week.
Yeah, I think it's just a weird situation, but they are at home, and they maybe Tyler Lockett goes off. They did release Justin Shorter, so I'm assuming Lockett will be at least active. That'll be interesting, but yeah, something to watch for. But yeah, Bowers, a very high variance guy this week. Not ideal if you drafted him in the second round. I am low on Dalton Kincaid. I feel like I'm low on him every week. And he's ECR tight end 11. I just can't get there with the amount of routes he's running. Still in that 60% range. Dawson Knox mixes in, Hawes mixes in. The receivers, they still kind of spread it around, and that's just really what it comes down to. Kincaid was living on touchdowns earlier in the year, and hasn't always been his forte. I did expect a tick up with Allen kind of saying in the offseason I missed him on a bunch of them, but now it's starting to even out a little bit more. And, if Kincaid is touchdown dependent, that's not a situation I want to be in. And he's just not really consistently emerging as that, every week, okay, he's like a Gadsden or a Bowers even that's going to get all the yardage or being the team lead for yardage. So I just don't know what to do with him. But I think he's a shaky start even, honestly. But he seems to always be ranked very highly, I guess, because of the touchdowns early in the year. But yeah, Kincaid, I'm pretty well on him this week. All right, that's what do we need? A tight end prop. Let's see.
Yeah, you got a lot to pick from.
Yeah, let's go Kincaid. Kincaid I think he's just a really hard projection. I'm gonna set his. And the Chiefs are generally good against tight ends. I think I was low on Ertz. So Kincaid receiving yards. Let's go 39.5.
Ooh, that's a good one. I have that as his average. So I'm going to be a little bit lower, but yeah, he is a very tricky projection because he has a very high target rate. He's typically going to see a target like 22-23% of his routes. Just he gets phased out when the Bills get off to a big lead, but this week against the Chiefs could be a trailing game script, so he could get more playing time, more dropbacks, and his ADOT's a lot higher. I remember there was a time his ADOT was like 2 yards downfield. He gets those like more downfield looks, so he wider range of outcomes. So I think his prop will be right around like 38.5, but I'll go under. I guess it doesn't matter if Josh Palmer's back or not. I'll go under.
I think that's the right call still. Yeah. It's tough because it's a tough projection because the Bills they are liable to just come out run heavy and I think they did that against the Chiefs to start that playoff game if I'm not mistaken, and then they ended up having to throw. But it's Kincaid's my tight end 20. So
I'm not that low, but I can see how you get there. And also, this is a side note, and I know you're really good with like QB rushing projections. Josh Allen hasn't been using his legs lately. They're just they had an easy schedule. He just hasn't been scrambling, right? So this is a game against the Chiefs. He is absolutely going to put his body on the line. He's going to scramble more, I would assume. And that obviously takes away from potential pass attempts, even if he is dropping back more. So have you noticed that too? His scramble rate's way down, but that could be just due to game scripts, right?
Yeah, because he's one of those guys, they try to, it's like, all right, and let's kind of like Mahomes said, I don't usually scramble until the playoffs when we need it. I feel like Josh is a little bit like that too. And this is a game, I guess they always win the regular season matchup and then the Chiefs win in the playoffs. So maybe they don't think he needs it, but I would think he needs it. But I'm just weary. I think I talked about Ertz last week as a guy I was low on, and 16 yards on 6 targets for Ertz, 4 yards per catch against Kansas City. They're just not, the backups got a couple of explosive plays, but it's tough to trust tight ends against like that scheme too reliably. So I don't know what to do with Kincaid at this point. So he's I think the under is the right call, but it'll probably be either like under or way over. So I wouldn't mind if you took like an upside ladder, or like 60 plus receiving too, or something like that. But for the median, I think the median prop is probably going to be a little bit high in the market. All right, that's going to do it for our NFL Week 9 player projections episode here on the Fantasy Flex. Be sure to subscribe and check out Fantasy Labs as well for all of our projections. You can use code FLEX20 for $20 off. We'll be back with our DFS preview tomorrow. Sean is on X at _oddsmaker. I'm at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the Action app. Let's get this money.